Hey everyone, it is Dani'i and welcome to this update video. I hope that you're all doing wonderful today. However, you might not if you're in sections of the Caribbean being impacted by Fiona, but that is what the video is mainly about. So we have Tropical Storm Fiona that we're going to be talking about. It is bringing impacts to sections of the Lesser Antilles, and conditions will spread into portions of the Greater Antilles as we progress throughout today going to tomorrow. And so we'll be talking about the cyclone and conditions in the vicinity of it, as well as the expected track of it. So where will it go? And before I go into details, Alright, and we're starting off with a view of the North Atlantic Basin. We're looking at infrared satellite. There we have Fiona becoming a monster as it enters the Eastern Caribbean. There are two more disturbances out there, so let's just briefly talk about those. So this one here is still given a 20% chance to possibly develop into a tropical cyclone during the next 5 days. So while it is going to make its way up to the north and linger in that shaded region, it could probably get itself together and maybe try to become something out there, but as of now it is not expected to be a threat to land. And then this other disturbance is unlikely to develop, and it is going to be making its way towards the east, maybe the east-southeast, and while it's going to be making its way by, it could bring some increased precipitation to the small island, so you want to be aware of that, Bermuda, and that could be a little bit of a treat before Fiona, if Fiona is really going to be making its way into the area. So we'll be talking about all of that in this video. So let's get on with the cyclone, and we're looking at a view of the Caribbean here, and we see that there is some shower and thunderstorm activity that is located in portions of the central and western Caribbean, but we're focusing on Fiona, which is located just in the eastern Caribbean. So the system is not very symmetrical just yet. However, it is starting to improve. We see that it is looking a lot better. I think this is the best it's looked since we've had development of it. At a closer view of the cyclone here, we are seeing that we have all of these grays and black, and even that purple. So on infrared satellite, that is indicating the areas of very deep convection. That is where we find the heaviest rainfall and thunderstorms, and you can see those sparkling white dots there. That is actually indicating lightning strikes. So as I said, islands of the Lesser Antilles are being impacted by this and will continue to be impacted as we head into the rest of this morning. And then the Virgin Islands as well as Puerto Rico will start to feel impacts as the day goes on. So Fiona is likely to strengthen in the Caribbean, and as I speak about that, let's go ahead and take a look at the cone forecast for it. And so we're seeing here that the cyclone is accelerating towards the west at 13 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour. And as of right now, tropical storm warning is still in effect for most of the Leeward Islands. For some areas it's been discontinued, but it is still in effect for most of the area, as well as the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and the eastern side of Hispaniola, specifically the Dominican Republic. And then for portions of the southern part of the Dominican Republic, there is a tropical storm watch. But I want you guys to focus on Puerto Rico. Notice that it is also highlighted in pink, and that indicates that a hurricane watch has been issued. So if you're in Puerto Rico, here's some bad news for you. So the reason for this is because Fiona is expected to intensify, and it could be near hurricane intensity while it's going to be at its closest approach to the island. And take a look at this. It is not going to be moving very quickly, so it's going to be a little bit persistent in the area for a while, and then by Tuesday it's going to be making its way out into the open waters of the Atlantic, and then it's going to be picking up in its acceleration. So it's going to be moving a lot quicker once it makes its way out of the region. But those very dangerous conditions are on the horizon for Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. So if you're in these areas and you haven't begun preparing, I suggest you really do so, because this storm should not be underestimated. So it could become a hurricane, and the maximum intensity expected of it as of right now is 90 miles per hour, which would make it a Category 1 hurricane at peak, although I doubt that is going to be stopping there. I think we will have some more intensification of the system. And so as we're going to be heading into the early part of next week, the Turks and Caicos Islands as well as the southeastern Bahamas should be monitoring the progress of Fiona, because it could be a threat to those areas. I mean, it's likely to be a threat to those areas as we head into next week. And so let's go ahead and talk about conditions within the vicinity of Fiona, and then we're going to be looking at the model track guidance and intensity guidance, where the various models predict the intensity of Fiona as well as where it's going to go. So first up, conditions. And we're seeing that sea surface temperatures are on the roll. We're seeing 29 degrees Celsius. Very favorable, very supportive of intensification of the cyclone here. And it is likely that we're going to be seeing some strengthening as time goes by. And that strengthening is also due to the lessening of the wind shear. So here we have the wind shear map, and the red indicates unfavorable shear, the yellow means neutral, and the green means favorable. And we're seeing here that we're starting to have more conducive shear within the vicinity of Fiona, and the strong upper level winds usually just displace all that shower and thunderstorm activity within the system. As we saw, most of that was displaced to the east of the center of the system, but we're starting to have more symmetry with the cyclone here, and a lessening in the strong upper level winds is helping to contribute to that happening. So we're starting to have more symmetry with Fiona. And then now let's go ahead and take a look at the model intensity guidance. And so here we have the various models, and all of them are expecting that Fiona is going to become a hurricane. So this is a little bit unanimous right now. All of these models are expecting that it will become a hurricane. We see some expect even a Category 4 hurricane, and I do not think that is impossible. Once there is a moist environment, as well as very warm ocean waters, which is already there, and then we don't have a whole lot of unfavorable upper level winds, then it is definitely likely that there will be some significant intensification of Fiona. And I personally think that it could even become the first major hurricane of the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. And so guys, in terms of the model track guidance here, we're seeing that these various models are sort of in agreement that Fiona is going to be making that northwestward turn and then making its way out to sea. We have most of these showing that it'll be missing Bermuda. That would be some good news. But remember, this is just to track the center of it. So even if we have the center passing just west of the island, that's just the center of it. So Bermuda could even still be in an area of the cyclone that has very strong winds and heavy rainfall. So it could be in very close proximity to the island, and maybe as we're going to be heading into next week, watches or warnings could be required. And there can be a lot of changes still, even though we're seeing some consistency and not any major changes. We can't outrule that changes are possible with the cyclone here. So we just have to keep watching it and see what is going to be happening here with it as time goes by, as we progress into the next several days. But again, those dangerous impacts are anticipated across the northeastern Caribbean and portions of the Greater Antilles. A lot of heavy rainfall, which is likely to induce flooding, especially in areas of mountainous terrain, such as even Puerto Rico and even portions of the Dominican Republic. A lot of heavy rainfall, and there can even be that storm surge, which is that coastline inundation as a result of the winds of the cyclone pushing the seawater on shore. So please be aware of all this happening, guys. As I said, if you haven't begun preparing, now is the time to do so. And so that is really it for this update, guys. If you found it to be quite informative, please give a thumbs up, and you can also share your thoughts in the comments or ask a question. I will try to respond as best and as soon as I can. And of course, remember to always be weatherwise.